What is happening, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you for joining me in the garage tonight as we take Old Blue out into the galaxy once more for another adventure, another great conversation. Thank you so very much for joining me with your very precious time. I think so often we forget just how precious time really is, and I appreciate you spending your time with me. Having said that, I'd like to just hit a few things if I could right off the bat. Don't forget to hit that like button if you have not. Please subscribe if you're just checking us out. And if you could, maybe share with a friend. That'd be really helpful. That's how I found many of the podcasts that I now enjoy myself, is that somebody sent me a link and said, hey, check this out. What do you think of this episode? So if you could do that, we'd really appreciate it. I also want to give a shout out to those that are in here. Ben from the UFO Garage podcast. What is happening, my brother? Thank you for being here tonight. Let's see. We got 509 Divine Pines. Thank you, brother, for being around, as well as Ghost Dragon ZW. You show so much support to all the different channels. I don't know how you keep up with all of it. As well as Arlene, thank you for being here tonight. And we have Wes H in the house, says, hi, BigWilly and UFO Garage. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us. As we move on down the list here, let's see. Oh, Mr. Gary Voorhees. And I'm assuming he has the little stickers. I just can't see them on my end. But Mr. Gary Voorhees Jr., thank you for being here, brother. Thank you for having a good night with us. Hopefully you will. Stony, thank you for being here. Do you guys like French cars? I mean, I don't think we're opposed. I don't know if we have some sort of stance against that. I don't believe so. Enzo, thank you, brother, for being here. He says, hello, Big Willy, and at the Josh and Artemis show. Who is my guest tonight, by the way? If you guys didn't know, Josh and Artemis will be my guests. We're going to get to them in just a minute here. As we keep moving along, we have Kathy Splash. Thank you for all you do and encouraging each and every one of us. Justin, thank you for being here. Jason William, that's a new one. Thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate you hanging out. Hopefully you have a good time. Rainy Cruz as well. And who else do we have? Chris Jarvis, thank you for being here with the Cookie Monster. The Cookie Monster there in the chat. Nightmare, hey. What is happening? You're also someone who shows so much support. Actually, everybody who's in here shows so much support. And we all get to hang out in these different chats. And I love it. I really, truly do. All right, guys. Just a couple things. Oh, Justin from Down Under, right? Too bad. I miss Simon Wales. He has a different name now. Sometimes I don't recognize him when he comes in. It's something like Catboy, I think. If I see him tonight, he's my twin from Down Under, though. Let's see who else we have. Gordium85. Hey ho, he says. The Josh and Artemis show. Who else do we have? Oh, thank you, Haskets, for being here tonight as well. All right, guys. So, really quickly, I want to let you guys know right at the top of the hour. All right, there's a couple things I want to show you. Number one is this. I didn't have it ready. I promise I promise it's usually more ready than this. Where did it go? Why won't it work? Alright, we're going to do it this way. I thought I'd have it all ready. It was going to look super smooth. It was going to be so slick, I promise. And it didn't happen. Here we go. We'll do it this way. Alright, guys. So this is something you could check out. Obviously, if you have not, this is the UFO Garage Podcast webpage. Some people have actually asked about this lately, and I had a complete blast. Do you guys even have a webpage? Heck yeah. You think Ben did not have a webpage set up for us? So this is a really cool thing that we have that I really enjoy. And let me know, it should hopefully transition along with me. Sometimes it doesn't. But if you guys want to go through here, we have the main homepage. We have a lot of things we're doing. We have doing our part. They're giving back. Obviously, guys, every quarter we are donating 20% of all merch sales towards a UFO research or experiencer support group. And that'll happen quarterly. I cannot remember the name. I believe it is, Archives, Anomaly Archives in Austin, Texas. Find its new home. That is this quarter's. Any support we have will be going towards that. And I do see it popping up there. Heck yeah. Obviously, you can check all the other great guests we've had in the past right here. As we move on down, you got all the other podcasts you can keep up with. And check this out. Oh, Jesus. Mr. Gary Voorhees Jr., look at that. Look at Sonny Conway over there. The Bledsoes. Oh my gosh, forgive me. I forget your name. Dang it. I apologize if you are watching. We do have many of our guests on here. Oh my gosh, look at this guy right here. Look at that little sexy bastard. I'm Jen Smith. Sonny, what is happening? Or not Sonny, I'm sorry. Lewis over here. So anyways, we have all these different shirts. As you guys know, sometimes I've talked about sus. If you're not familiar with that tonight, I am having a beer. Judge me if you like, but it's been a long week. So, as I crack that open, and if I say sus and we take a sip of that, or if someone in the chat says sus, please take a drink of whatever you were drinking tonight. So we have those in different colors. Again, now I'm rambling, but we have all this different stuff. And what I'm most excited about, and why I want to talk about this, is right here, guys. The UFO Garage 22 reunion. November 4th through the 6th, Friday night through Sunday afternoon. I'm really excited about this, actually. I'm mainly excited. The tiny houses are pretty cool, But I'm really excited about the teepees because they're like sealed off so the rain doesn't get in there, and you can star watch through all kinds of other stuff. Oh, Aurelio. Is it Aurelio or Aurelio? Oh my gosh, Ben, I just swallowed wrong. Oh my gosh, I'm dying, guys. I apologize. Anyways, you can come hang out with us. Cinema Terry's going to be there. There'll be all kinds of stuff, and it is going to be a good time. I am super excited about that, honestly. But enough about all of that. Also, know we do appreciate all the amazing super chats. If we get our first sus, I will take a sip to that. Thank you very much. I had to make that a quick one since I'm all by myself. Nobody to cover for that one. But you can now donate, if you'd like, in the page. We have linked in the show notes. You can donate to the channel as a whole, or you can donate to Ben, to Joe, or to myself. It's up to you how you'd like to do it. We have them all labeled out depending on who you want to support. That way YouTube doesn't always, we appreciate them, but they shouldn't say stingy, they're greedy. A little greedy with what you guys donate. And we prefer your money to go where you'd prefer it to go. Having said all of that, thank you, Enzo. You were too kind. Project Blue Book. There's some new ones coming in that I'm now missing as I was probably rambling off on the side. I apologize. Do not forget, next week I will have Akashi Chris, the greatest smile of all time in all of ufology. And Akashi Chris, I'm very excited for everything her and I are going to chat about tonight. But, excuse me, next week. Tonight, though, I have Josh and Artemis with me. And I'm going to read just a little bit about them. This is something they put up. And, a lot of people are super familiar. I feel like, here's the weird thing with Josh and Artemis. It is not a bad thing. They've had, I don't know if you guys have checked out their guest list, but they've had some amazing guests on there. And I kind of feel like they came out of nowhere. And that's amazing because I feel like sometimes how people looked at like Joe and Ben and the Grouch over here. But I love the work that they're doing. And I'm excited for tonight to be able to chat with them. And at the top of the hour, probably after the first hour here, we will open it up. You guys can come on and hang out with them and chat with them yourselves as well. And so don't be too worried about not being able to get a question in. You may be able to get a question in person to person with them. But having said that, this is what they had to say about why they created their channel. They said, we created our channel together in September 2021. Our main goal with the channel is to focus on a variety of topics we find fascinating, such as UFOs, paranormal, ancient history, pop culture, science, mental health, consciousness, and much more. We aim to provide the space for such conversations and hope to grow the community. We have fun and learn along the way. And what more can you ask for than that? So having said all of that, let us bring on the Artemis and Josh podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show tonight. Thank you so very much for coming and hanging out with me here in the garage as we travel out with Old Blue into the great unknown. How's your evening going?
Great. Yeah, we've just finished our show. We had Joey, a.k.a. Spaghetti Lee, on. So
Spaghetti Lee.
He's a really cool guy. We love speaking to Joey. So, yeah we had a lot of fun.
I love his accent. Joey's accent. He's got that, like, the New Yorker accent.
New York accent. I know, I love it.
I love it so much. I'm catching up to see if anybody in the chat said anything. If you guys did, please put any questions in caps, and I'll try to keep up with those because I'm really bad at it these days. I've gotten so comfortable there with the ladies doing the after hours with Spaced Out Radio. Forgot to mention that. If you guys ever want to check me out there, I do that on the weekends. We do the after hours with Gemma Jade, Thin Lizzie Borden, and John Hudson. But they do an amazing job running like all the stuff in the background now, so I'm not as versed in keeping up with the chat as well as chatting away. So first and foremost, thank you. It is Friday. I'm excited about that.
Cheers.
I know. Cheers, right? Well, let's talk about that. What are we drinking at least over there?
Iced tea, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a spiked iced tea.
Okay,
no, that's spiked.
At least you threw a spiked out there. I was like, dang it, I'm the only one having a beer tonight. It was a weird Friday. It was like this Friday thought it was a Monday. I got confused. It was just a overall weird day. Yeah. But hey, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Having said that, let's start with, and I know that you guys obviously talked about you started the channel together in September 1st or it was September 2021 there.
Yeah, we didn't put out our first video until October 15th.
Which was Greenwald. Our first show was John Greenwald Jr., which was scary as hell.
Yeah, we were,
really was.
We were very, very nervous for sure. But it was amazing.
But it's good. He's like a really cool guy. I mean, we speak to him privately as well now. Like we've got like a good relationship with John now.
Yeah.
He's a really nice guy, like a really supportive guy behind the scenes as well. So
yeah, we are planning to have him back on the show for sure.
Yeah.
But like we need a second interview.
We need to do it again.
We need a little bit of a do-over. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't terrible. It's just, now with a bit more experience and time under the belt, we have a bit more confidence in just our mannerism and just doing this really. So
yeah. Well, I think you guys have been doing a great job, especially like, and this is,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, in no way, hope no one took it of me saying you guys just getting started as any kind of, shot or anything like that.
We are.
Yeah, we are.
Like, just getting started.
I don't see us as like an established channel, if that makes sense. Like we haven't even got 1,000 subs yet. So we're just kind of new to all this, but we're learning as we go, and we're kind of we're lucky in some ways because the community we've got and the people who are always there in our chats and stuff, they help us a lot with questions and keeping the chat really entertaining and engaging. So that's a big part of it, as well as the chat when you're doing the interviews, is making sure that that's bouncing as well to keep everyone there and keep everyone interested. So we're lucky that we've got a good support now. So yeah,
very true. I have to admit too, and there's such beauty. It's like in anything, right? It's all about how we use any tool. And I don't want to say our community is a tool, because I don't even know if I'll be honest with you guys. All right. I don't know how you guys feel about this or not. I don't even know if I'm like in the community, but I hang out with them. Yeah. But I don't know if I'm like in the community. You know what I mean?
Cool by association or something. Yeah. No, but I think you are. I mean, we knew who you were well before we ever spoke to you. And like when you talk to us
famous, you're like famous to us.
Yeah, like when you talk to us like in the chat, I think it was on that one time I was abducted.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's so cool. Like BigWilly likes us and like thinks we're cool. I was like, I'm talking to him about how we have how I have kids and he has kids. I was like, that's so cool.
That's right. That was the night we were trying. Yeah, we were both arguing like these mother truckers. I tell you what, they're so.
Oh yeah, it was like to us, we thought it was cool.
Yeah,
sure. It's true. Yeah. With the community, one thing I've really noticed about it, Enzo, you were too kind. He says you are in the community. One of the things I find unique about this community, and I suppose it's the same with anything in life, is that it's ever evolving, right? And people seem to struggle to find their foothold, and sometimes get really married to their foothold. So they take a position, and as things evolve, sometimes they're not willing to part with that.
Yeah.
And I have mixed feelings on that, and I suppose pros and cons of that. Well, let's get your guys' opinion first of all. What are your guys' opinions on that, as far as people who have essentially been pillars in this community, where really we have them to thank, far as we're kind of standing on the shoulders of some giants that went before us when it wasn't cool to talk about the stuff. It wasn't cool to come out and have a show discussing this. What are your positions, though, or your thoughts on people who are very married to the position they have and don't really seem to be budging on that?
I think it's difficult. I mean, we talked about it on our show today, how it's people trying to have like a validation for their belief, if that makes sense. That's like a lot of what it is on UFO Twitter, is people with a lot of their belief systems, and they're just trying to have like a validation for those. And belief and truth are two different things as well. So
yes, they are.
When something comes out which might challenge their belief system, if they look up to someone like a Lou Elizondo or like a Stephen Greer, for example, and someone questions that person, they are going to get quite defensive about that. It's the same with me. I mean, I'm like a huge soccer fan.
Okay.
Yeah. So if someone, and I'm like a Manchester United fan. So if someone,
footy.
So was my sister.
Obviously, okay, cool.
Oh, cool.
So if someone was coming out, and saying that Manchester United are crap, or like Cristiano Ronaldo's crap, and I'm going to defend.
You'll be like, get the fuck out of here.
I'm going to defend my team to the hills. You know what I mean? So I can completely understand where like they're coming from, for sure. But at the same time, I think it's important to not remain on the fence, but kind of be open to new ideas too, and realize that it's like a fluid situation. Really, things can change really quickly in like the UFO world. So it's important to remember that things can change as well. So,
what about yourself, Artemis? And by the way, many are saying they love your new tattoo, Artemis. Everybody's very excited.
I also got the peach here.
Oh, look at that! Yeah. Oh, well, we know that one time I was abducted by aliens. They're all about sharing the peaches.
I know.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what.
No, it's obviously just for them. No,
I got just
it
for that.
There's another meaning behind it, like the Georgia peach. But yeah,
I'm sure they will love it. But what about yourself then, Artemis? And what is your position on this? And then we're going to dig in a little bit to, I guess, let's start with this before we go with the question. what was your introduction to this community? Let's start there, I guess.
Into this community, like I wasn't always part of UFO Twitter. Like I was, and also I was behind the scenes for a long time before actually following people and like interacting with people online. I thought I was more just like reading everything going on Twitter, but not participating in anything for a while. That was mostly like just because of like my own confidence and not thinking, I don't know. I just, it was mostly a confidence thing. But I don't know. My introduction was like since like childhood with like movies, and that's why put pop culture, because like it has such a big influence. And like when I don't even know how young I was, but I started watching Star Trek with my dad.
Okay.
You know, at a really young age, like 6, maybe, I don't even, 6, 7, whatever. And I was always like, I have an older sister, and I was definitely like the nerdy sister, and she was more of the girly sister. So I was just always into that. And I just kind of, I don't know. And my thoughts were just always that we weren't alone, but I just, I don't know why I'm so sure of that. I just kind of thought, I don't know, in this vast like universe, how could we really think that we're the only ones? So to me, it's just more, it just makes more sense that we aren't. But anyway, and when I started watching UCR about like a year and a half or something ago, I'm not sure how long ago now, they eventually asked out if they if anybody wanted to help or anything behind the scenes, and I didn't do that right away, and then eventually in the summer I did. And there's the peaches. The peaches for my mom, but and so I just put my hat in. I was like, all right, I'll help. You know, I have tons of customer service and sales experience, and you know, kind of wraps in with marketing and whatever. And
certainly does.
I just always talked about how we need more women in the community, and they said, why don't you just be, you know, what you preach? Like, I'm like, why don't we have more women on the show? Why don't we do more, like, why don't we have more women talking about it? Like, we just give such a different perspective, and it's such a good balance between, just the way that we think versus how men think, and putting those ideas together, and just being more creative that way. So especially Michael, he really pushed me to do it, and he was really supportive. But I mean, so was Lou. But I remember like Michael just being like, just do it. Why, like, you're thinking it too much? Like, let's
just go for it, right?
Go for it. You have like, you're a natural in this, blah blah blah. So eventually I did it, and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm doing this. And I didn't think I'd have my own show until I met Josh, and then I'm like, and then I kind of was thinking of it because everybody was like, you should do a show, and I'm like, I guess I don't know if I could do it on my own. And then when we met, it kind of just all worked out.
Rolled together. Well, speaking of that, before we get to you then, Josh, do you remember, and again, you don't have to discuss it if you don't want to, Artemis, but in your childhood, I mean, I always like to ask people, you know, was there anything that ever happened you just couldn't explain that you still think about to this day that makes you at least wonder, even if you're not certain?
For me, not so much. I mean, I had a pretty weird childhood in other ways, but I don't know. So I watched the movie Scream really young. Like when it came out, I think I was only 3 or 4. And my sister made me watch it with my older cousin, and like my sister's like 6 years older, so she was quite a bit older to watch that movie. And my cousin was even older than that, and so that really scarred me for like a while. Like, it sounded silly, but like for years, like even at night, looking through a window that's just a reflection of yourself because you can't see out, like that would freak me out if I couldn't see outside. Like, I would constantly think that I'm gonna like see something and whatever. So I feel like I was just scared of everything and anything. But I don't have anything specific, but I was definitely a really big wuss.
Still is.
And yeah, I mean, I still am. I get scared
so.
at everything, and like you know, but it's what it is. So
That's the way it goes.
yeah. I mean,
okay, so your introduction.
but I mean, I've had paranormal experiences in the last like 3 years, 4 years. So like
Really.
So it has like I do or I have experienced that as an adult, but just not as a child. But I think my sister ruined that for me really because I just ended up being scared of everything. But who knows if it was paranormal or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's interesting how different events or the things we're exposed to at such an early age, just even concepts or ideas, really do form, the person that we become one day, that we become. I mean, the good news is at least we can always alter that a little bit if we want one day. But it is pretty amazing how we don't. A lot of people, some people have very clear memories of their childhood, and some people have a very I don't really remember.
Yeah.
And for me, that's weird. I don't know about you guys, but like when people say they don't remember their childhood, I don't know how I feel about that, because like I have very vivid, if I want, very vivid memories or recollections of my childhood.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine it just being not there. It would be very strange.
Well, it depends if what kind of childhood you've had, and if you're suppressing memories and stuff.
Yeah, if it's like trauma, for example, people often suppress that. So, you just completely forget about it. And then years later, something might trigger it again and it gets brought up,
Yeah.
Very true.
I can say that there's a lot of my childhood memories that I don't remember, but that's because I chose to suppress them, and it's exactly for trauma. So it is weird though. Like, I mean, some people will remember a lot about their childhood and will remember events and everything so clearly, while others like myself, I'm like, wow, I can hardly remember like a handful of memories. I guess if you really try, you can remember a little bit more, but yeah, it is interesting.
That's true, by the way. That comment's true.
Yeah, so Kathy Splash, for anybody listening on audio, says, I don't care how many people say Big Willy works for the NSA, infiltrated the UFO paranormal community to psyop the world into another universe. I will always love him.
Definitely true. Yeah.
Now, what about yourselves then, Josh? Let's start early childhood with you, and then kind of what was your introduction, and did any of your childhood experiences lead into why you're in this community?
No, I mean, I've never had a UFO experience, but how I got into this, I was probably about eight or nine. I was in grade school, as you guys call it in the States, but I was probably about eight or 9 years old, and we didn't have it wasn't like a big school where I used to go to school when I was a kid. So we didn't even have a library there. So every Wednesday, I think it was, we had a mobile truck that used to come, and that was the library. And it was from there, that's where I discovered the topic, really. I picked up a book which was just like a picture book, filled with pictures and drawings of UFOs. It wasn't like writing as such. It was just describing the photograph, for example. And that kind of sparked the interest I had. And from there, I just started to watch loads of TV shows. I got into the X-Files in a really big way. And there was another show in the UK called, I think it was called Strange but True Encounters. And that was a similar sort of show to the Twilight Zone. And there was loads of shows like that I used to watch, and then I got into reading books. This is in the days of the dial-up internet, so I didn't really have access to a computer where I could do loads of research. So it was mainly just books, what I used to read, or if I found a newspaper with an article in there, I'd read that. But it wasn't until I got into my later teens where I started to use the internet a lot more to research it, and from there I was getting into people like Stanton Friedman. I watched everything he did. Him and Richard Dolan were the two main people growing up, and then Stephen Green as well.
Greer,
yeah,
sure.
He was a big one,
work.
especially with the Disclosure Project stuff he did in 2001, I think it was. That was a big one for me as well. And then it kind of went quiet. I went to university and stuff, and then after that I moved to China for 4 years, so I lived
really?
in China. Yeah.
What was that experience like?
It was good. Yeah, it was strange. I was like a teacher over there for a bit. I was teaching like young kids.
That's awesome.
So I had to kind of switch off the research end because it's so like censored there. You can't really like Google, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. That's all banned there, so you couldn't really go on anything. So that was an interesting experience. Then I came back to the UK when I was about 25, and since then I've kind of just been researching it as much as I can. So for the last like 6 or so years, yeah.
So that was one of the curious things that I have is with that, far as, because we all kind of share a similarity here, far as I don't have any, I mean, sure, there were some weird things that happened when I was younger, but I don't have that moment, right? I don't consider myself a abductee or anything like that, where, you have people who can be like, no, this moment, altered my perspective on everything. I think it was always in the back of my head, but it was just that slow, progressive fade. And then I didn't know that UFO Twitter was even a thing a year and a half ago. Honestly, even a year ago.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know there was this thing. I didn't know there were people hanging out. And I think the internet's really, it's been a pro and a con, right? It's gone two ways. It's, again, kind of goes back to the idea of like the community and as we're finding ourselves and developing. And I feel that it is a tool, and if it's utilized properly, it can be an amazing tool. Like, look at, like you said, how long it took. We're not that far removed from, like you were saying, basically having to go to get a book at a library, a traveling library, to get information on this, to now there are entire shows by some of the more, basically foremost in the front line of study on this that we can listen to readily.
Yeah, you've got Ross Coulthard now. He's got his own show. There's people like that who have got their own shows now talking about this. It's interesting. Yeah.
Agreed. I definitely agree with that. I think one of the other cool things, and we'll definitely keep hitting on this a little bit here, but one of the cool things you guys are doing with your show now I believe you had done one episode, maybe two. I don't think you've done two yet, have you? As far as kind of like the sit down and like, let's try and bridge the gap, which I don't think people realize. There's a lot of people behind.
Episodes.
The debate.
Well, we are starting the debate episodes. We haven't done one yet.
I thought you had done one.
No, we were taking suggestions for
maybe the episode I'm thinking of. First. Was there an episode where it kind of happened that way and it wasn't planned then? Is that what I'm thinking of?
I mean, sometimes if there's too many men. Honestly.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm sitting there like, wow, I need another UFO chick here.
Yeah,
like,
need some
bad.
involved.
I remember one time like messaging Alien Girl, like, are you free to come on the stream tonight? And she's like, no, I can't. I'm like, damn it. It was like super last minute. I was just like realizing how many men were going on.
Yeah.
But I mean, no, it's not a bad thing. It's just sometimes though, the conversation kind of does get a little bit more like, not aggressive, but a little bit, but not still being like respectful amongst each other.
It's all like the testosterone in the air.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm like, it's not aggressiveness. It's just like, a lot of sausage.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I don't know which one you were thinking of.
Well, I thought it was, and I could be wrong, but I thought it was an episode with Goof on, and I could be wrong about that.
We had him on the show, but that wasn't a debate. But we did. Well, we like to do that. We like to have, because, I mean, to us, before we even talked to him, we had people saying, "Oh, don't get him on your show. Don't talk to this guy." And to me, it's like, no, like I'd rather speak to someone and form my opinion after speaking to him instead of having to base my opinions off a third party, if that makes sense. I'd rather speak to these people, make up my own mind. And since speaking to Rich, I mean, we'll probably get some hate in the chat from this and whatever, but I don't care because, like, we've spoken to him and he's genuinely a nice guy. Like, I'm not. Yeah, he's a nice guy. That's the start.
Oh, you're muted.
Oh, sorry, I was whispering. Sorry, I mouth stuff to the chat sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I was like.
But thank you for letting me know, because sometimes I do mute myself. It definitely happens. But yeah, I think it was with Bottled Water. You're right. Which I'll be hanging out with Bottled Water tomorrow night, guys. By the way, 6 p.m.
I guess they were, but they had like a healthy banter. It was like it was really good. Yeah. Like they wanted Bottled Water wants to have Goof on his show and whatever. I don't know if that's still in the works.
He's been on some show. I mean, he's been on Amy's show a few times.
Goof on?
Yeah, he's been on our show. So it's not like he's a straight, because to me there's like two sides of UFO Twitter. There's like there's like the goof on side, and then there's the other side, and it's very rare that you see the two sides come together, if that makes sense. So that's what we wanted to try and do, is like bridge that gap, because there's like a lot of people which we've noticed who feel a bit alienated, I guess, from like the conversation at times, because their like opinions might be slightly different as to like what the mainstream viewers on UFO Twitter, and it's kind of difficult for people to express themselves sometimes without feeling that they're going to be attacked by people on like Twitter. So that's true. So that's what we wanted to do, was kind of be a show which can kind of bridge that gap a little bit, or even try to, because that's what we feel like. We shouldn't be burning bridges, we should be trying to build them, and not have it as two parts of UFO Twitter. We should just be one voice, really, you know. That's how we see it.
Or at least, at very least, right? Like appreciate. Whoops! I might have shared the wrong thing here. I think it's like stuck. I don't know what happened there. So at very least, be able to recognize that we all have different paths that we're on. And someone's in the back. Someone has to be backstage messing with it. Ben, are you back there? Because I swear it's just like automatically sharing stuff to the screen. I don't know what that's about. See, as soon as I do it, it's gone. This is so weird. I've never had this happen, guys. I apologize. But anyways, yes, while it's up there, before we go any further, guys, guest links. You can check this out. I have both your Twitter linked, as well as your YouTube, as well as your channel and Instagram. I have that all in there, and I did post it in the comments. I'm not exactly sure why it's stuck on the screen. I've never really had that issue before, but
everybody would do it.
Ben says it's not him. See, watch this, Ben. As soon as I get rid of yours, I'm gonna see if it works. Watch this. I bet you.
Wow!
Look at that. I've never.
Must be like a glitch or something.
That's okay. Maybe Ben will hop in the back end and he'll fix something. Who knows?
Yeah.
For now, I'll just share nice little comments that people share along the way, and then we'll do the best we can. But the fact that I was explaining it a little bit like this, my perspective, just minutely on it, is that we, if we're like a body, like your actual physical body, and you have all these pieces of your body that have certain functionality to them, the arms are not designed to be feet necessarily. You know, I know it's a bit redundant in your face, and obviously I'm going for an extreme point of view here, but your feet are not the eyes. They don't serve that purpose. But recognizing that you have a purpose for it and respecting one another's purpose. Now, again, I'm not saying we have to always support everything that other people do, but we don't have to go out of our way to tear each other down. And okay, I'm going to get some hate on this one. So you guys said you're going to get some hate. I'm going to get some hate. So Ben, hang on to your pajamas on this one. Guys, sometimes at the end of the day, you know how we were talking about we barely knew about some of the stuff that existed and we were in the community? Nobody outside of this knows about it yet.
Exactly.
Okay? They don't know us. They don't. You're cutting off relationships with people, or maybe ending things for what?
Yeah.
Because we have a persona to maintain. Who's the persona for? If we're the only ones that really care about it, and if people come into this is what they're coming into. So what kind of community would you want to join? And that is like my 2 cents on it. I know it's much easier said than done, but I do appreciate you guys doing one of the things you're doing, which is sitting down to have a difficult subject or a conversation and say, hey, let's have a healthy debate.
Let's talk about it. Yeah, that's all we want, is just to talk about things. And, you know, we've got Lou Elizondo on the show soon, which to us is weird because we're not expecting him to agree to come on our show, you know, but he's going to come on, and it's, you know, we are going to try and make it a balanced show because, you know, we do interact with different parts of the community. So we are going to try and make it as balanced as we can, you know.
True.
So it's going to be difficult to do because, you know, we can't please everybody, but, you know, we are going to try and make it as balanced as we can, for sure.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that I suppose what's interesting about, like, say, the debate, when you're challenged, when anybody challenges you on your position, we're kind of at this weird spot where there's been a bit of a transition over the past decade, I suppose. I don't know how it was for you guys, but like we had to write, I mean, for my age, I don't think we're all that far removed from one another's age, but got to be within at least 10 years where if you wrote...
I'm 33. So.
Okay, so we're... Okay, so that's what I am. I'm 32, or 30.
Okay, yeah,
so I'm 30.
Must be the same, yeah.
Yeah. And if you wrote an essay in school back in the day when we had to do that, if we were pressed or someone said, why did you come up with this decision? You had to defend that, right? Not necessarily they were attacking you, but you had to defend the position of why you came to these understandings or this factual understanding as you know it. And it was okay as long as they kept I don't want to use the word attack, but as long as they kept the debate or the questioning and in regards to what the subject was, and not a personal attack. There's a fine line to walk there, but people have really blurred the lines on where somehow defending somebody questioning why you believe what you believe is now a personal attack. And I understand that some people definitely do that, so I'm not supporting that. But I think we got to recognize that just because someone asks a question doesn't mean it's a personal attack. And I do think there's, in the right environment, man, a healthy discussion is the way we've evolved over time. Being challenged, has challenged us to grow. And as long as that's the goal, if the goal is truly to grow, but then that brings us back to the biggest conundrum, right? Which is everybody says to grow to what? Disclosure. Well, then what is disclosure? So for you guys, for Josh and Artemis, what is disclosure for you guys in your world?
It's a difficult question for me because I don't even know how to answer it, because I mean, there's people who have said it's already we've already had it, and there's people who said we haven't, and you've had the Pentagon confirm that UFOs are real, so in a way they've kind of already done it.
True.
So I mean, to me, disclosure for me is like a mass event where it's undeniable and there's no way that you can't say that it's not, but this isn't a UFO. Like, to me, it's not going to come from like Congress or something. It's going to come from like UAPX, or it's going to come from like the scientific community, or like a mass sort of sighting. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think it'll just be one. Well, maybe a mass sighting, but I think it's just an accumulation, really, of the work that everybody's doing, and eventually realizing we don't need the government's stamp if enough of us believe it anyway. And I mean, people see proof themselves every day, so I think those people who experience that themselves also already have disclosure, because if you talk to an experiencer, they're very they've
already seen it.
They've already seen it. They've experienced it. So to them, that that event was real, and that is their disclosure for them. That's all the evidence that they needed was their experience. So maybe people having more experiences as well through a mass sighting, like or
a
an
mass
individual
or something. That's what I'm
saying. It'd be great if I keep saying Phoenix Lights 2022. Come on.
That's what we need. Yeah, we need like
let's get that hashtag trending.
Phoenix Lights Part 2 for sure.
But I want that to happen in Toronto. Thanks.
Really cool. That'd be very interesting. Question here from the chat, by the way, for you, Josh. Is Rendlesham Forest the UK's version of Roswell? If not, what is? Oh, Kira Angel, welcome. We got a new member.
Good question. It's a good question. Rendlesham Forest is still... I mean, you could say it's Roswell because it's still very much myth. It's, you had... I mean, it's an interesting... Like, this is probably one of the cases what got me into the topic was Rendlesham being from the UK. And it's a difficult one. I don't know what happened. I would say it's... Yeah, I would agree about it. Kind of is the UK's version of Roswell. We had the craft, which landed. I mean, do you know the story?
That's a lighthouse out there. That's all that is. That was the light. I believe that's the final conclusion on it, right? Is the lighthouse and the vehicles on the road.
Which and
could have been.
It could have been, but the thing is about Rendlesham as well. It's not just UFO activity. There's paranormal as well. So it's similar to Skinwalker Ranch in some ways. There's a lot of activity around there with similar sort of sightings with like wolfmen and things like that. So there's a lot of similarities there, and I actually think there's another documentary coming out this year about Rendlesham Forest. When we had Philip
Mantle
on the show. He was
that'll be a good one.
Saying he's like one of these old school researchers from the UK. I think he's part of the documentary, so there's going to be another one coming out this year, I think. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. But yeah, it's an interesting case. I can't really say much about it because I honestly don't know what happened there.
I can respect that.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. I'd rather not comment on it really, because I don't really know what the definition, what the answer is, because some people said it's the lighthouse, some people have said it's not, so I don't know. I need to see more proof, I guess. So.
Yeah. I mean, I 100% respect that. Plus, you look at like what happened to him afterwards and some of the downloads he got, and if that was something that was falsified, you know. Gordy85, he said, "Did I hear that right? At the Josh and Artemis show, mentioned Toronto. I do believe that is where he resides."
That's where we are now. Yeah. So I moved here in November. So I've been here for a few months now. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. Apart from the snow.
Yeah, the snow.
Snow is terrible. Like it's.
But like we hate the snow too. So I mean, you're kind of just a Canadian now.
Yeah, but it's just
hating the snow is being Canadian.
Yeah, but like the snow here is crazy. It's just.
It is. It's nonstop. Like just when it starts to get warm, all of a sudden we look out the morning after and it's snowing again.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
we got a little bit today.
But I mean,
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was going to say that at a certain point, once you have the much snow, that's what we always say. We're like, it is what it is. I guess. So we just like accept it.
Well, he's from Northern Ontario. That's why Gordium 85.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Oh,
Very Northern Ontario. I'm curious.
Very nice.
Maybe he's going to say like Sudbury or something. It's cold up there. If you think it's cold down here, go to like even more north, like not Tobermory. It's another one with a T. Timmins.
Yeah.
Timmins, Ontario. It's freezing there.
Arden is in Arden Paranormal. She said she's in Eastern Ontario.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Oh, and I think she's a new subscriber of ours as well.
Oh,
very nice.
Yeah.
Thanks for subscribing.
I recognize her face.
Thanks so much.
Like I recognize the picture.
Nice. Too much information. You have a good one. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight. Be safe. Enjoy the weekend safely and have a good one. So yeah, and again, guys, like I said at the top of the hour here, so in about 15 minutes, we'll take a quick little break and we'll open it up for everybody to jump in here. I do apologize with why it's going to have that consistently out there. I've never encountered that before for anybody who's watching visually versus the audio format, but we'll work through it. That's what we do. Moving along here, I do have a question in regards to what do you think has been the most, at least to date, and we'll start with you, Artemis, on this. What is the most fascinating thing to you personally about either the community or the phenomenon as a whole? And do you think they are intertwined, I guess?
Well, the best thing about this community has been everybody that I've met, really, and finding my own place. And I don't know, the amount that I've changed since like coming online, like in the summer, is, insane. I mean, personally, my life has changed like whole 180, and even professionally, like what I do as a career, like this is what I'm trying to do, this is what I'm passionate about, and this is what Josh and I believe in. So I think so much has impacted me, and the fact that so many people have this community in order to not feel alone in like their experiences or what they believe in, and this is like becomes a safe place for them, and that's for so many people or everybody in this community. I think that's definitely the most beautiful part. Take away the Twitter hate and all that. I think in the bigger picture it brings us together, and the whole thing with this phenomenon, I mean, it's really cool. It's cool to think about. It's the possibilities, because we don't have answers, are really endless. And there could be. Oh, that went really quiet.
Oh, you're okay. I apologize. Okay. I just say my heater. I'm down in the basement.
Oh, all of a sudden it went really quiet.
I know. I know. Okay, it was me. I apologize.
No, it's cool. Yeah, I think with this phenomenon, it's like the possibilities are endless as to what is out there, what we're capable of, what we're still discovering so much about our history, let alone our our future and what else is out there. So I think that it's just really exciting to still be discovering that. And I think it's a really cool time to be alive because we've seen so much evolution even in our technology. So
we really have.
Yeah. So we really have, especially with technology. So
it's been a lot.
It's really cool. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of positive to focus on.
Yeah.
Agreed. What about yourself, Josh? Kind of the same question. What do you think is the most fascinating thing for you?
I would just say the amount of people who are getting involved. I mean,
very true.
I was like you. I was really surprised to see that there actually was a UFO Twitter. Like I didn't have anything. I didn't know anything about it. And it was when I created like my Instagram page, and then I created the Twitter page in like the summer last year. Like I didn't have any idea there was this whole community here, like talking about this. So that's kind of like the most amazing thing to me is like how many people are actually trying to get involved with this and make a difference, and just trying to get involved. And I think for a lot of people as well, it's a social thing as well, and especially like the pandemics happened and people have been forced to kind of like rethink themselves, reevaluate stuff. I mean, I had to, but before I did all this, my job, I was like, I guess you could call it like a club promoter, like a nightclub promoter sort of thing.
Okay.
And
very nice.
And after COVID happened, you know, all the nightclubs and bars were kind of shut down. I had to rethink what I wanted to do. So that's when I decided to, you know, I've always had a big interest in UFOs. So I thought, right, I'll just talk about it online, you know, and it's kind of snowballed from there. So it's kind of cool to see how many people who, you know, just all these amazing people who are like involved with like the conversation. I think that's the best part of it for me.
I do enjoy it. I do enjoy because, well, and this is okay. You know, we hit on something earlier. We didn't quite clarify. I think we both probably agreed, but maybe we didn't. I didn't specify it. At least we came really close earlier, and we should have clarified a little more about the idea between a personal truth and then like what is a universal or just it is the truth, right? And I think within this community that happens a lot, right? Yeah. Where let's say an experiencer, they have something that's beyond for them, it is a universal truth, but I understand that from the perspective of others, it can be considered just a personal truth, right?
Just a story,
yeah. Now, that's a very hard thing if you're someone who's dealt with that, to have somebody go, well, that's your personal truth, you know, because, well, they've lived it. I mean, that's an entirely different perspective they have in life. And I think that is where, like anything in life, we run into a lot of issues, is that recognizing what is a truth for me, where I'm at in my journey versus where somebody else is at and their experiences they've had. You know, we have such a limited view on what we perceive and experience in life. And I think maybe if we were more open to that idea of if there is some sort of, and I tend to think there is a universal consciousness of some sort, that in an extent or in essence, what others are experiencing is an experience of yours too, you know? So I don't always, even if I'm skeptical of something, I have questions, I very rarely just completely discredit somebody unless I can tell they're just purposely yanking my chain. Yeah. And then I just will have fun with it more than anything. I'm not going to try to fight with them. Before it slips too far back in the chat, let's see. Gamer X Chris has a question. Is there going to be any new UFO disclosure happening, and will we know about how this off-world vehicles work? Do either of you have opinions on that?
Well, my opinion is I hope so. I hope we are going to get, you know, some sort of answers soon. But, you know, I think with the war, I mean, we talked about this on our show before we came on your show tonight, and we all agreed on the show that, you know, we think the war, I mean, that's just going to put this conversation back even further. I mean, the people who were trying to engage in this, the congressmen, people like that, they're going to be preoccupied now with this war. I mean, the UFO subject's kind of like right at the end of the to-do list now, really. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with the conversation for this year. I mean, I do know we're going to get that report on the 31st of October.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to that. So I think it's just going to be a waiting game until that report comes out, really. I can't see anything much changing before then, if that makes sense. I think we might get some leaked information, maybe. But in terms of anything official from the government, for example, I think we're just going to have to wait for that report to come out.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Which, I think let's talk about that for just a second. And we have another great question here from Justin. And like I said, you guys, put any of the questions in there that you'd like. But, in regards to that, that's really going to be on us as the community to uphold and kind of keep the flame alive, as it were. And let's face it, we're at a really exciting time in some ways when it comes to this topic. I mean, I suppose every day we wake up, we're always at the forefront of being closer than we've ever been to it, I suppose, in some ways. Even though there have been some steps, throughout history that have shown we certainly took steps backwards or suppressed it. If individuals within the community that have come out and spoke out that were in the government are to be believed, then there's some very big things on the horizon. And I think it is probably more important now than ever that, how I mentioned earlier, how people don't know who we are. There's going to be more and more people turning to this because it is, going into the government aspect where people are starting to hear it talked on the, their nightly news. Maybe not be our favorite thing to see it on the mainstream media and the light that is being portrayed, but it's enough to get people intrigued, and they're going to come find things like UFO Twitter. Yeah. And I think that's where it's.
You touched on it there, Big Willy. But what's your opinion on how it's portrayed in the media? If that makes sense.
Well, I have a whole different relationship with mainstream media personally. Anyways, I've always, and people probably tired of hearing me saying this, I always say that my perspective of mainstream media is that if you walked into a room, a skyscraper, and you had 8 different windows you could look out, different ways you could look. And you say, I'm going to look this way because I can watch the sunset, or I want to look this way because I want the sun in my eyes. And you think you're making these choices of what the lens is or the view you're going to look at. But, behind the scenes, it's, somebody picked the room with the views you're already looking at.
Yeah.
And if you listen to and I'll put it in massive quotation marks for anybody who's just listening in audio version, it's massive. The news that's reported anymore are just simply opinion pieces. And it doesn't matter which side of the spectrum you fall on. You listen to it. It's just them attacking whichever opposing side, whoever is against them. It's all rating based. It's not really reporting the news anymore. Exactly. And so I've always had that perception even before getting into this. Now in regards to the UFO community or the phenomenon as a whole, you hear the word threat tossed on a lot. It's always a threat. It's the threat narrative. How is this a threat to our airspace? And I get it. For those that have served in the military and stuff, they're going to say, well, yeah, things up there that we don't understand are a threat to our airspace. And I get that. But I just hear the word threat usually because it leads to fear. And I believe fear controls people. And
very clever. Yeah. I mean, the media are clever with what they say. They know exactly what they say. Or these people who know about the UFO subject, when they say it's a threat, they know exactly what language to use, how to get the point across, how to get people on their side. Things using the word threat on the news is they know what they're doing when they use these they use these words.
Trigger words.
Yeah, they know what they're doing.
For sure.
Which is why for me, and you touched on it there about the ratings as well. That's why when I see, for example, like Fox News, they do a lot of stuff on UFOs now.
Yeah.
Whenever I see Fox News and UFOs, I kind of take it with a pinch of salt because I know that most of it is going to be about ratings. And Fox News know if they put a story about UFOs, they're going to get loads of clicks, loads of ratings. And I think most of the time that's what these UFO stories are for, is to get clicks for these, for the news people.
Very true.
A lot of the time. I mean, sometimes you'll get a genuine story, but most of the time it's just rehashing the same information we've already had. So, loads of times, but just on a different station.
Yeah.
And there's nothing new there really. It's just just for clicks.
And they do it nightly. Yeah. I won't go down that route, but Joe and Ben, if you've had this before, we used to get the news in the morning, maybe the afternoon and the evening, right? Now it's 24/7, and they start every segment with breaking news.
Yeah.
Is it really breaking news between, unless something indeed did happen, but it usually didn't. It's like breaking news. Here's our newest opinion for the day that you must now believe and align with. And there's a whole rabbit hole we could go down on that one.
Yeah,
but
talk about flowers.
I know.
Really quick with Justin here, so I don't forget yours because I fall back a little bit there. He says, or I believe it's more of a statement maybe than a question. He says, it's the most profound question of all. Human experiences and people want to know they aren't alone. What do you think that is? For the two of you, why do you guys think that people have such a desire to either A, know that we were not alone, or the need to know that we're not alone? And do you think that there's like a love-hate relationship with that?
It's a good question. I mean, I think it comes back to like the validation thing as well. I think it's just people wanting to have that acceptance a lot of the time. That plays into it a lot, I think, for me. But but there's also millions. There's people around the world who have had a genuine experience, I'm sure, and for them it must be frustrating, I think, to look at this topic sometimes, and they must know that for a fact it's real because they've seen one of these things close up or whatever, and it's a hard question, Big Willy. You've thrown me a big curveball there.
It's okay. Listen, but this is the beautiful thing about like the community as a whole is that sometimes, like, okay, so like Joe and I and Ben, like we and a lot of us other ones too, Chad and Sonny, we do these after shows, and I'm sure you guys have done them too, where we hang out. We just like, and Enzo, my God, Enzo and I have literally like been up until the sun was up. Yeah, he's such a smart guy. And I remember one night I was just throwing crazy stuff at him because he's so smart. And I was like, I'm not smart. And I just wanted to know. I was like, so the idea of, okay, so there, man, now we're going down to the rabbit hole. Connor's in here tonight. Speaking of Connor, thank you for being here tonight, Connor. And obviously he's hit on, like, we've chatted about flat earth and stuff before. And even though I don't subscribe necessarily to the idea, I support the idea of them being, like, questioning to a point. I think once you have an answer on something, then you're either choosing to be willfully ignorant or you're ignoring facts. So to a point, but I definitely support the idea of them not just accepting any answer that's given to them. They really want to know why. But one thing that has been interesting in listening to some of that stuff and talking to them is the idea of how they talk about gravity. And we still, again, this gets way outside of the realm of where I should even be talking about, but we really don't understand gravity. Yeah. And there was a couple of interesting things in studies we've been put forward talking about the relationship of gravity being more like an electrical force that affects each one of us different based on our mass. And I thought that was interesting because the way that Bob Lazar, take him, leave him or love him or hate him, described the way that it affected gravity and pulled gravity to it would almost lend more credence to the idea of things being able to be manipulated. We know we can make stuff levitate based on frequency using electric current. Yeah. Like that's affecting gravity. We're not doing anything magical there. It's just, I sometimes think that some of that is intriguing to me. So far as the idea, what was the original question? I feel like now I like completely blanked. I'm like, wait a second, we're on.
I was just so entranced with what you were saying.
I forgot. I feel like you asked the question. I was like, okay, I'm starting to ramble, so I'm gonna stop myself. Does anybody in the chat remember?
Really interesting, honestly, I'm just like,
loving it. I was loving the things.
Well, either way, cymatics, Kira, thank you. There's a ton of it to me that, that's what I was saying. Bouncing those ideas off on one another in the community and having someone who challenges you or has a different mindset. Because I was saying how we vibe and we hang out with all those different people, and it's great to have somebody you can always hang out with that maybe supports and thinks the same as you, but it's also good, I think, to sit in with people who don't share the same opinion as you, and to figure out where you fall in that,
Exactly, and this is why we wanted to get so many different. We want to have different people on the show, people with different viewpoints, and because we want to be challenged too. Like I want to be challenged. I want someone to literally change my belief system. I want them to try to do it. I want them to challenge me. I want my belief system challenged because I want to learn so much. I want to learn everything about this topic, and and that's why I don't like to shut someone out, because I could learn something from this person. It could just be one small thing, and that one small thing could change how I think about something else. So,
very true.
So I'd rather just speak to everybody. That's
what used to bother me? And it's so weird, and maybe we'll have to come back to this after the top of the hour here, and we'll open it up for everybody who would like to come in and hang out with us and talk with Josh and Artemis to come on in. Whoever would like to, I'll drop the link here in just a minute. But one of the things that I thought was so interesting, that used to maybe even three years ago, I'd been like, nope, can't do it, was the whole, I don't know why, but I think all my life, just because of media and stuff, I had this perspective that there was one, maybe 3 species if there are, off-world aliens that exist or entities. And it was like the idea that there could be mantis beings or reptilians. For whatever reason, I just struggled. Like, if someone started talking about reptilians, I was like, I don't think I can do this. I don't know why. I was polite. To wrap your
head around, yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, it was like there was a weird blocker that I didn't even know I had. And it was weird that it had already been kind of built into me. And I'm someone who, I like to think I'm pretty open. I love to try and like push my boundaries of where I'm at mentally. And that one was just like ingrained in me. And I don't know why. It was like the minute someone brought up reptilians, I was like, I'm out. And not that I was out of the conversation, but like I was checked out mentally a little bit, I'll admit. Hey, thank you so much, Mr. Crowley, and all those who have given super chats tonight. SOR, as well as Michael Gordiez, as well as I think Dry Toast might have given one. I apologize. I missed someone else. I forgot to write them down earlier. Mr. Crowley says, I'm pregnant to Big Willy, thanks to that voice. Well, Mr. Crowley, it is what it is at this point in time. You'll make a wonderful single father. I'm just kidding. I would be there if we had a baby. It's okay. All right, guys. So let's take a quick little break, refill the drinks you'd like, go use the bathroom if you need to, and we'll be right back, and I will drop the links in the chat for you to come and hang out with us and continue the conversation, and we'll figure out what's going on at the bottom here, because I don't even know what that is at this point. All right. We'll be right back.
Sounds good.
And we're back. I just barely made it. I was like running up the stairs. All right. Welcome back to the top of hour 2. The second and last of the hours here before Mr. Dave Scott kicks things off over there at Spaced Out Radio. Excuse me. I was running up and downstairs. I was in the basement. It was like 3 flights of stairs. I'm going to get a little fridge or something set up down here so I don't have to run so far. All right, I will wait for Josh and Artemis to get back really quick, and I already see we have some people in the backstage already. So thank you very much for those that are back there. I will get to you in just a minute. Looks like we have a couple of spots open if anybody else would like to hop in as well. And we'll see. I'm not sure what is going on once again with the chat. Priscilla, I did see as I was leaving. Oh my God, I gotta breathe. That you were talking about like removing the conspiracy part of it, and how there's a lot to those that have had experiences with, the reptilians. And I 100% believe that. It's definitely changed my perspective as kind of the point of being able to sit down and just listen to some people and say, hey, let's listen to it. And it was a good experience. And it's something that, even though I've never experienced myself, I definitely get it. And I'm definitely not as turned off to as it was before, as far as just ruling somebody out as soon as we had it happen. So Someone said, sus. Well, thank you, Justin. Excuse me, I will drink to that. All right, guys, don't forget, next week I will have Artemis Prime on there with me. Excuse me, what am I talking about? I will have Akashi Chris. I'm just making up names at this point. I'm just making up names that don't even exist. I'm like, yeah, I'll have Bobo Jogi Pants on there. Or not Bobo. You guys, what was his name? Oh, Spooky would kill me right now. From Lord of the Rings. I should bring him in. Josh, I'm going to bring you back in real quick. Is that okay, brother? Thumbs up? All right. Josh, thank you for coming back. Welcome back to Hour 2. Really quick, do you remember, and I'm having like a brain fart, the Lord of the Rings? You ever watched it?
Yeah, I've seen all of them.
Okay, what? I'm calling him Bobo Baggy Pants, and that's not right, because that was something in the song.
Bobo Baggins, you mean?
Bobo Baggins, thank you.
I think it's Bilbo Baggins or Bobo Baggins, whatever. Yeah,
the Legion. Yeah, Bilbo Baggin. There we go.
Yeah, and also Artemis Prime was me for like a really long time, only up until recently.
Yeah.
It was okay, because so in a moment there was like where I went to say Akashi Chris, and I was like Artemis Prime, and I was like,
I heard you. I was thinking my drink
because it used to remind me of Optimus Prime.
Artemis Prime. I was like,
that's right.
But you know what?
Very
You're the second person today or yesterday. I got a message from somebody who just started following me on Twitter. He's like, oh, it's so funny. Like I used to know, or he's like, I know of an Artemis Prime, blah blah blah, and I'm like, yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Nice.
He was talking about me, but didn't realize I was the same person because I took it off of Twitter and stuff. It was really funny. I was like,
Enzo wants to know what Bobo Baggy Pants is about. It was a song. I don't remember the group that used to do, but they would do they'd make up silly songs and like YouTube videos of famous things, and that was the character. His name was Bobo Baggy Pants. So really quick, we do have some people in the backstage we'll bring on in just a second here. Thank you once again, Artemis and Josh, for coming in and hanging out with us tonight. And let's see what happens, because we never know. This is a part of the show where things can, they go over the place. So we'll try to give everybody a chance to ask you guys a question and go around the room and share some ideas and thoughts. And yeah, so here we go. So we have first and foremost Mr. Crowley in the background with us. Mr.
Crowley, good to see you.
You sure you want to do this?
That's what we're doing it. We're doing it.
We're sure. Yeah.
We've been doing this how many times? I'm just saying.
It's true. We have.
You like the new mic and the boom?
I do like it. Oh, I didn't even notice for a second until you pointed it out, which is sad. I should, because you had the one before.
Pretty good, yeah.
It is working, yes, sir. Yeah. And then Mr. Larry A.
Hey, Willy.
What's happening?
I haven't seen Larry forever. Last time I saw him, he had his shirt off and his traps all.
He is the reason that there's a.
I just have a question here. When Lou was on, and Ben and Joe were showing the program, well, I asked a question to Lou. What that he couldn't tell us all about UFOs because it would be a threat to national security, and what I don't understand is what is his definition to a threat of national security, and I don't know why, but they wouldn't ask that question to him.
Yeah. I mean, I think what Lou means by national security or threat is because it's not identified yet. I presume that's what he's talking about.
And I agree with that. I'm ex-military. I'm ex-U.S. Air Force. You guys know. Yeah. And
allegedly.
I'll show my shit right now. Anyway.
I'm kidding.
But why would that stop him from telling us about UFOs?
Because
I don't understand. Why are they a threat?
He can't relay. Because if he tells you there's a threat, that they're a threat, then that's admitting that the United States military has information showing that they know they're a threat, or they know that they're, you know what I mean? So he can't do that.
But it is
really quick too, guys. I'm sorry, just really quick. I want to get everybody in here because we still have more people in the backstage. So really quick, I'm going to bring in the Legion. I don't think we've ever had the pleasure of hanging out or talking. I don't
Absolutely not.
So thank you for coming on. And Mr. Crowley will be right back. So thank you for coming on. And then really quickly, too, I'm going to also bring in the one and only, the man, the myth, the legend, Sonny. Sonny, what is happening, brother?
What's up, guys?
Hey, Sonny.
I figured I missed my show, so I better come and do yours.
It's okay. That is okay. So really quickly, thank you for all of you that have come on here. And obviously, Larry's got a question right off the bat here, and he's asking this. So, Josh, please, if you had any answers you want to give to him, and then we'll work our way around the room to see if everybody can get a question in for him.
Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of the threat, I mean, what's strange to me because, like, the US and the news have said, oh, it could be a potential threat to national security, for example, but if you look at other parts of the world, like if you look at the UK, for example, like the UK have never said it's a threat. Australia, they came out a few weeks ago and said they've done some investigations and they've said it's not a threat to them. So it's kind of weird. Like I've brought this up on a few shows, but it's always been weird to me how it's only the US who's saying this is a threat and no one else is. Like that doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't make sense to me.
It makes me feel like they're trying to cover something up that they don't want us to know about.
Or distract us.
It's preparation for the false flag operation.
Well, if you look at other countries, they are way more open with UFO encounters and everything else.
Yeah, like France, for example. France have been really open. Like Brazil as well. They've opened up their files to the public for a long time. So it is weird how like different parts of the world see the UFO topic in a different way to America do. You know, it's always been weird to me that. Yeah.
Well, I kind of see it as we've always been the top dog, and we're kind of almost an underdog now. So things are a little bit more, you know what I mean, sensitive. You know, because like we're not the major superpower in the world anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and now we're kind of guarding our eggs, kind of thing.
I can boil it down and make it very clear what the threat is that they won't talk about. Okay, the threat is reputational. The United States has the biggest military in the world that could overthrow the next 10 nations combined.
Not true. Right? India actually has the biggest military in the world.
India has the most forces. But as far as expenditure on technologies and resources for the military, the U.S. has got that. But this is where the problem comes in. If you know all the UFO history, you know about the spacecraft that shut down the U.S. nuclear launch facility a long time ago. Yeah. This completely took it offline. You all know about that, right? And you also know about the Russian facility where the missiles were put into launch sequence and ready to come out. You connect these two things together, and what you have is that no nation has weapons of mass destruction. They do not have nuclear weapons. They have nuclear liabilities. Because anyone can fire nuclear weapons against someone else, and if the Celestials can just shut down your launch capabilities, you cannot have retaliatory strike. And they can detonate every single one of the nukes in whatever silo it's sitting in and glass the nation that owns them.
Yeah, you're right. If they can arm them, they can set them off. You're right.
Yes. None of your countries can protect you. The threat to the United States is to their reputation as the ones who can defend and act as the world police. That's it, right there.
That's a good point.
When you put in transmedium vehicles, we're talking about the ability to move through solid matter.
Yeah.
That's a delivery system for any weapon that cannot be intercepted. There is no protection if there were hostile intention. But for the United States to be trusted as the ones who are going to defend the world, they're working on a false flag operation with very poor replications of celestial vehicles that they will successfully shoot down out of the sky and get the entire world believing the concept that they're the only ones who can protect the world from celestials. And then everyone starts funneling their money to the US. They get to establish more military bases all around the world, and you have all surrendered to them without them ever taking action against you.
Okay, the only argument I have to that is China has introduced AI interception.
Yeah.
To the interterrestrial, ultra-terrestrial, interdimensional thing. So who's the leapfrog?
Right. Yeah, it's intercepting things that are phase shifted is a nightmare.
And China,
and there's only there's only so much barrier that can be put up around a region for that.
And I honestly think China has kind of, led the world in attacking that head-on technology.
Yeah,
with technology. So
yeah,
just my opinion.
Yeah, the U.S. has been trying to reverse engineer alien craft for over 80 years at this point.
Yeah.
You know what's always been in my mind is ever since the movie, is it called Arrival? I know there's been...
Yeah.
I really liked that movie, yeah.
And I think there was an original too, but I didn't see that one.
Yeah, it was Charlie Sheen, I think, the original. I think it's a different story.
Is it different?
Yeah, I think it's Charlie Sheen who's in the original one.
Is that the one with the aliens with the backward leg?
Yeah, I think that's the one, okay. Yeah.
Very nice. What's always interested me about that, before I bring in, we have another guest in the backstage here, is that who represents us to said entities? Who's like the ambassador, and how does that one ambassador, even a small entity, a group of people, really represent the all of humanity? And it's always really just bothered me. You know what I mean? Because in that movie, she was the thing. She was the one person.
Yeah. It's Willy. There's a movie called Contact as well. Have you seen that one? Yeah. That's like a similar sort of scenario where they have to decide who's going to represent the world, to go and meet these beings. And it's a similar sort of scenario where they've got to weigh up like a religious aspects and science as well, and find someone who's kind of in both of those worlds, I guess. So it's a difficult question. I mean, if you could put one person there, Willy, now, who would you choose?
Well, there would be no one person. Yeah, absolutely. There's no way that one person encompasses all. I think, oh shoot, I mean, just we're so broad in our spectrum of humanity as a whole. I mean, it'd have to be no less than probably 100 people per country that would try to even encompass that. I don't think we could really do it. Although I do think that most of humanity, as much as we're pitted against each other and the arguments take place, you took people and you put them in a room, and all the different religions that don't get along and all the different politics, and if you ask them, just list the 10 most important things to them in life, regardless of political spectrum or religion, more than likely 80% of the people are going to have their top 10 things be really similar, close to each other. They may not be in the same order, but there's just basic human things that I think matter to us.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're as divided or as far apart as we're usually led to believe.
Well, I can say this, working for the U.S. government most of my life, that we have no fucking idea what we're doing, dude. We don't. True. I'm just going to put that straight out there. We have no fucking idea what we're doing.
Very true.
There's no intercommunication. There's no understanding. Nobody wants to reach outside their wheelhouse to get information from somebody else. It's a fucking shit show. So
here's a question for you, Mr. Crowley. Sorry, you mentioned there you served for you've been involved with the government for a while. How do you see the war and how that might impact the conversation for UFOs for this year? Do you think it's going to set us back, or do you think things are going to keep moving the way they are, or do you think it'll get away again, or
you're going to get trickles?
Yeah,
that's what you're going to get. You're going to get trickles. You're not going to get the full story, because the simple fact is, if I don't know what the fuck's going on, I'm not going to tell you that. You know what I mean? I'm not going to compromise myself or my country and make them worry about, I don't know. You know what I mean? And that's the ego part of the country, is I don't know.
Yeah.
Which a lot of us in this field, paranormal, what have you, UFO, we don't admit we don't fucking know. We don't know. And your country is your protector. Your country you look for protection from. And for them to tell you they don't know, how many, situations is that going to cause? Absolutely. Now you have no faith in your country. You're worried about this. You're worried about that. So it's.
And that, I was going to say, that itself also emboldens the creation of religious cults. Because if your government says they don't have answers and they can't do anything for you, anyone that claims that they can has a path to power.
Yeah.
Let's
Very
talk
true.
about that later. I need money.
Really quick too, guys.
Let's
I want to
make
bring
some
in one more here. Michael G. So close to Kenny G. But Michael G. backstage. So let's bring him on. I don't think he's ever been on. I'm so excited to see all the new people hopping on here tonight. Welcome to the show, brother.
Oh, hey, what's up, Big Willy?
Are you drinking whiskey?
Everybody.
Drinking whiskey? Really, before the conversation, I've actually met Kenny G. When I was like 12 or something. I didn't even know who he was.
Kenny G.
He ate at my family's restaurant back when my dad used to own a restaurant. And everybody thought it was such a big deal. I was like, who the F is Kenny G? I was 12.
Nice.
Okay?
Like, famous saxophone.
So I met him and I was like, cool, nice to meet you. But at the time, I had no idea who he was. But yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love it. Well, we don't have quite Kenny G, but we have Michael G, and then we'll take that.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, you know, this is my first time here, but I'm always on like the chats. And actually, I'm a rapper. But like,
nice.
I don't have nothing now. I'm just regular, like I work, you know. But also an experiencer too. I just never talked about it. I was thinking, I wrote UFO Garage that I would talk to them, but other than that, I'm like just be myself, you know. I don't really care.
We start getting too tiny. Sorry, guys. I'll try to rotate you in and out as politely as I can. So as long as you guys don't talk to each other, I'll do my best that way. We get it gets so tiny otherwise people can't see who's talking. So,
but yeah, no, I know.
I'm signing off. I just wanted to ask a question, so we'll see y'all later.
Oh, well, hang on, Larry. Here, we can give you a proper goodbye. Thank you so much for coming on here, brother. And by the way, you are responsible for the topless two-topic Taco Tuesdays. I just want you to know. That was you, Larry. You started that.
Wait, who inspired who? I don't know, because I thought I was like the first one on there. I don't know.
You were the first one on there, but Larry was the first one to ever come on a show. I'm
going to do it afterwards. No, I'm just kidding.
There we go. So thank you, Larry. Thank you for all the support you show. And great question, by the way. I do think it is important that we acknowledge those things that, you know, Lou having his NDA and stuff, but I get what you're saying. As far as them having different stuff, he can't always answer. You know, it's a little frustrating sometimes.
It is
absolutely. You guys have a good evening.
You too. Have a good one, brother.
You too, Larry.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Alrighty. There we go.
I'm going to go shirt on, just so you know.
You're going to go shirt on?
Yes, I will.
We appreciate it. You know what? I told Ben, I wrote him after the show, which, by the way, if you guys have not checked it out, great interview with Lou Elizondo with Ben and Joe there.
Sure.
You know, that was definitely a different side. I mean, I feel like I've listened to quite a few of them. I feel like Lou gave a little something to him on that one, as far as it not quite being his normal spiel, I think it was very interesting.
He seemed more chill.
It's good to see Lou when he's like that, when he's more like himself and he's not so when he's not trying to follow a script. I guess I'm not saying he is going to follow a script. I'm just saying sometimes it seems like it's more question answer, but the one with Ben on the show the other day was like a conversation, which is what I want to see. I want to see an actual conversation between Lou and someone. You know?
Very, very true.
Yeah.
And you know what was interesting about that too is, and I don't know, I want to get your guys' perspective. I'm asking the room in general, I guess. Do you think we're reaching for something if we try to read into his little like parables that he was giving, which were interesting, but do you find those little parables kind of like
kind of annoy me sometimes? If I'm honest, I mean, it's good because, you know, it's good to look into something, but at the same time, it kind of makes me think that sometimes he's just sending you off for like a wild goose chase a lot of the time, trying to look for something which might not be there, you know. So it's a weird one.
I mean, honestly, I have an opinion if I can.
Go for it. Yeah.
I think, like, as an experiencer, even like how I wrote a letter, right, to UFO Garage. When you talk, there's always a lot of things like that, like if it's really going on. And so you see it, I would say Lou Elizondo would feel like he would know, like he's given enough clues, but we don't have the information that he has to put all the pieces together. So that's probably why to us it's like, what? But I don't know. I think go back and listen to it 3, 4. Not that I've done that area once, but
yeah,
you just never know what he's really saying, you know?
Yeah, and I think it's got to be stressful. Like, okay, I wouldn't want to be him. I'm just saying. Like, I mean, I'm sure anybody who's ever gone and done any of these shows, Sonny knows from doing his show, Josh and Artemis, you guys know, people, man, they just have opinions about everything. You can't please everybody. It's not going to happen. And he certainly has a big audience paying attention to him. Just just under a microscope, every little bit of action he takes or anything he says.
Yeah, everything he says, for sure. But
I guess from my few experiences from just hearing him on the show, I think I respect him at the very least that he said one thing that I've always respected, which is I'm here to present this information. It's your job to make up your own mind. I respect him for that because he doesn't.
I like the little caveats he has because like he has these little slip moments or non-slip moments, however you want to call them, to where he just kind of alludes to something without actually, you know what I mean? He's kind of developed this way of, hinting at shit without, violating his contract kind of thing. So I kind of like
Sukalos.
Oh,
yeah. I'm not saying it's aliens.
Yeah.
but
I really miss him. I feel like somebody in our community, like somebody like that we all hang out with, somebody should get him on the show.
Yeah, we need him on a show for sure. Yeah.
Oh my God, he'd be the best just to chill with. You guys ever watch the show Ancient Alien or not Ancient Aliens? What's wrong with me? Resident Alien. No, not that one either. What is wrong with me? No, it is Resident Alien. It is Resident Alien. It's from the first season.
Is that the one when the guy's like a doctor and he's like an actual alien? Is that the one you're talking about? BigWilly?
Yeah, he's like the doctor, but he meets George Sukios in the end of the last season. Yeah, and it's hilarious because he's just like talking to him about all this stuff. George is, and he's just like eating all of George's like fruit tray backstage, and George is just like talking away with him about all this stuff. But it was kind of funny to see him like not on Ancient Aliens, just chilling,
Yeah, that's cool.
What about? Hey, Sonny, really quick, we got a question for you. Do you have a question? I don't want him. Not
I know Sonny never says
the chance.
He just sits there with his dog.
2 minutes before I got on. No, I've just been sitting here listening. You guys are basically asking all the questions I wanted to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say that guy's a good actor from Resident Alien. I've seen him live. I forgot his name. I was gonna Google it, but he has a lot of stuff. He's really good.
In the few things, yeah.
Do you guys remember him from? Do you guys remember the movie? A Knight's Tale?
Yeah.
That's like one of the first movies.
Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
That's one of the first ones I remember him from.
I'm the naked guy. No,
he is the naked guy. He is the naked guy that yells and announces people.
He's also the villain in the DC film, or it's a DC. What is it?
Is he really?
He's Vision. Yeah, he's Vision in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I didn't know that.
Oh, Doom Patrol. He's the villain in like season 2 of Doom Patrol.
Wow, so he's done a lot, and he's even done like voice work too.
He's trapped in a painting or something. He's really good.
Dude, the golden years dancing in that movie is the best. It is golden years, golden years. It was the best.
What are your guys' thoughts on this too? We'll go around the room. We'll give a chance for everybody. No, you're fine. I realized I'm gonna ask this question. I'll see if I can get rid of it without it popping other stuff up. I don't know why it's doing this, but let's switch over to this view. We'll start with Josh and Artemis on this one. What are your guys' thoughts on the whole idea of the micro and the macro? Do you think you remember in Men in Black when they would open the little locker? Remember, and whoever they seen again was like their new god. Do you remember that part?
Yeah, like a little world in there.
Yeah, and in the Marvel, do you think if we agree, where we seem to all agree that science tells us that the universe is ever expanding, does that mean that there's got to be the converse is true, that there's a spot that's ever shrinking? And if so, where are we caught in that? Like, where are we in the? And that's kind of some of the stuff that Lou is alluding to and Ben in their show.
Yeah,
but what do you guys thoughts on that?
Like, where are humans in like the food chain sort of thing?
Way on the outside.
Yeah.
By all means. Way on the outside.
Yeah. I mean, we're like so far down I mean, if these beings do exist and they're this advanced, from us, then yeah, we're so far down the food chain you can't even see us anymore. That's how I see it. But I mean, it's weird, but I don't really know how to answer it, to be honest, BigWilly. But the way I would say it would be, I mean, we're not top of the food chain. If these things.
Fair enough. All right, Mr. Crawley, what do you think about us being in this micro-macro situation?
Same thing. I mean, we are so out from the Big Bang that we're pretty much nothing. I mean, we're infants, if even that, compared to the galactic universe.
Interesting. All right, Michael, what about yourself? What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, one more time, please. The micro, macro.
Yeah, so the idea that if the universe is ever expanding, right, if it's ever growing, then wouldn't it also make sense, and we've kind of been taught that if there's balance and everything, that if there's something that's ever expanding, then there has to be something that's collapsing at the same rate. There has to be something that's consistently shrinking, but you wouldn't really know if you were part of that. You know, an organism that exists in your body doesn't know how microscopic it is.
The best way I could figure is like, you know, they think maybe we're copying like those other Earths with our dimension. But also, I believe in God. You know, I've read the Bible ever since I was a kid. I've read the whole thing from beginning to end, like the children's Bible, adult Bible. And I believe, you know, what they say is like, basically most of it is true about that we're created in God's image. So if God is the creator, then we are also part of that, the creator. And also I think science could, you know, what now is quantum entanglement, right? It's kind of could all be quantum entangled to every single part of the universe. So yeah, I mean, and also like because even on DC, I watched a lot of DC and Marvel. There's a lot of copies of our Earth. Boom, 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 boom. The idea being after the Big Bang, everything just happens exactly the same, like a circle, just over and over. So
true.
It's really kind of hard to say exactly what or where is the beginning.
Oh, agreed. 100% on that part.
Exactly where consciousness will go, because apparently we could have consciousness into art. You know, they say like a molecule exploded into 13 particles, so there's like 13 dimensions right here next to us. And
we never, I mean, to say it, that's the fascinating stuff to speculate. And that's why I always love going around the room and getting everybody's opinion on this. So,
you know,
Legion, what are your thoughts on this? I guess this what we're discussing.
This is probably going to be a little bit new territory for this type audience, but
that's okay. That's what we're here for.
Let me walk you through a little bit of time travel on this.
Bring the shit on, brother.
So, the universe is expanding and putting more space between every celestial object at an ever-increasing rate. But this was brought on by the Big Bang itself. And if you go back to the Big Bang, to that point of singularity at the moment before the explosion, everything that would come into being in this universe was one single thing. It all existed as one thing. And if we go back to the discussion on quantum entanglement, things that come from the same thing are still the same thing, even if they're in two different places.
Can't see them.
So as your consciousness grows and you understand more about the universe, you don't just see the connections between other humans that are in this world, because every carbon molecule that's in your body and everything else was ejected by a dying star millions of years ago. So we're all composed from the same star stuff from the same stars. You start seeing beyond that and realizing that everything on the planet is entangled because it was all the same thing. Every person is connected. Every planet, every solar system, every galaxy is still connected. So that growing consciousness on the macro scale gives you the macro vision to see that there is no distance between anything.
I think it's a vibrational. I think it's a vibrational difference. To be honest, I think we've vibrationally kind of separated.
Could be.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've heard, you know, the way of like transitioning those things is actually knowing them. So maybe we're getting at that point where collectively we could all know quantum entanglement.
Our vibration is coming into contact with the rest of everything else.
This ought to be a fun way to ask it. Then, Sonny, what are your thoughts on vibration?
Vibration?
Yeah.
Sonny. I don't know about that, but what I think about when I think about this stuff, dude, I think like if the aliens come here now and they see us the way we are now, and they're so much more advanced than we are, it's gonna be like if we could time travel back into time and spend time with cavemen. That's how far behind we're basically gonna be behind them. We might be able to know how to read and write, but if you're not doing it like them, you're still far behind them. Like if you can't write their language, we're basically cavemen. They're gonna have to learn everything that they know.
I mean, what if we are though, like psychics or certain people that actually practice that? You know, could possibly
say it again.
What if we do try to be like the aliens here on Earth? I'm just wondering if we're capable of that thought or vibration.
We are capable. We just choose not to acknowledge it.
Yep.
So how much of that, though, do you guys think, and I guess I'll go back this way, since we've been around the room a little bit. It's a little weird now. As I say, I feel bad if I'm like, I don't want anybody to think I'm cutting anybody out on what they're saying. But what do we think on that, as far as what you said, Mr. Crowley, as far as us being able to do that, but choosing not to? How much of that is us choosing not to, and how much of that's just been suppressed through ancient history?
We're scared of what we don't know. You know, and we don't accept things we don't understand. And that's the two most simplest answers I can give you. I mean, it's I've started up Buddhism and everything else, and I've seen things in a different light, and I've kind of come to learn to accept things in a different way. And I just think that we shut ourselves off, you know, on different levels of mentality, different levels of understanding, and just a plethora of different levels, you know. And I think if we opened ourselves up to these levels and to understanding and acceptance, that we'll be able to see it eventually. You know, I don't see what I believe in as being a terrestrial thing. I see it as being a, you know, spiritual thing. And I think
you don't think any part of history has suppressed the knowledge that maybe we once possessed, or even other entities that existed here on Earth with us?
Do you really want me to get started on that?
Listen, I mean, I'm genuinely curious about it. I don't think you bring up a good point. I think people are nervous, but I think that's taught behavior. I don't think that's something that was just innately born in us.
Technology was magic 200 years ago, 300 years ago, 500 years ago, 100 years ago. Technology was magic, you know, and that's what we considered it. So what do we consider magic now? What will technology be 100 years from now? You know, what don't we understand or don't we comprehend, and just what are we capable of? You know, just in the last 100 years, what have we done? Look back at it.
What are yours and Josh's thoughts on this, Artemis, as far as the ancient cultures and some of the, you know, megalithic structures that exist, and seeing what we believe to have possibly been some of the ways it could have been created? Do you think that it's just simply they were that much more advanced, or that we just forgot it?
It's hard because some of these things, like the pyramids, I still can't understand how we could have created them, you know, at least without some help. But I mean, do I actually know that? No, of course not. It's just when you look at it and you start to understand the math and the projections that they used, and also just looking at it and how. Oh my God.
For just a second, I'll make sure he's all good.
It sounded like somebody ran into a bunch of pots and pans.
I'll bring you right back in just a second, Michael. Here you go. Sorry about that. You got a really good mic, and it was like grabbing everything.
I know, it's because I got cold and I was
I'm
sorry.
Oh, that was a sneeze.
That's great.
You got a sneeze.
No, I got cold. That was my closet.
Oh, cool.
I was going to tell my girlfriend to put the heater on, but it's, I think I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were talking about this, I think probably like in the last week, like if we could time travel to a different time, it would be to see how the pyramids were even built.
Yes.
You know, and actually understand that. Sorry to comment, but yeah. Because a lot of these ancient structures, they I don't know. They're just so magnificent, really, and yeah, I'm fascinated by it, but I don't have a lot of knowledge and understanding of it.
I mean,
me either.
I tend to agree because I've basically seen every episode of Ancient Aliens, and it's all the proof is there. You know, like you could watch that, I feel, and the History Channel is official. So I'm just saying, as far as that goes, everybody knows about
Sad.
alignment.
Yeah.
You don't want to get me started on ancient aliens. You all hate me. So.
Does anyone know how long ago it was that they just barely figured out that the Sphinx isn't it buried and we were just seeing the top of it?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it was underwater.
Older than the pyramids.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think
It is.
Or the fact that they might have chipped away the face and it was originally
yeah, I mean,
somebody
I think
else.
the face of the Sphinx has been changed loads of times.
It has been.
What I understand. I think it's constantly in the, or it was constantly in a period of change, and I think you touched on it there, Sonny, about the Sphinx, and they did some work on the Sphinx and found out there was like water erosion at the bottom of the Sphinx.
Exactly.
There
was
Water like thousands of years before.
Yeah.
They say so. It's the whole timeline is completely messed. It's not even that timeline's completely wrong.
Yeah.
Effectively. Yeah.
Well, it's like who figured out carbon dating?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who figured it out and who determined what was what? Does that make it right? Does that make it exact?
Yeah.
So it's just, one of the many things that, we've come up with and just kind of accepted and accept it because we have no better knowledge, no more understanding. So.
One other part I think is cool is there's a curse, right? The person who well, no, I'm sorry, I mixed the Egyptians, the ones who found King Tut.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Was a curse.
Yeah,
And
that
also,
guy didn't he pass away just like a month after he opened that tomb? So he got
Carter?
sick.
Something like that. Yeah.
Well, I went on this kind of rabbit hole with the whole Sphinx and the whole pyramid thing to where they were actually storage units, kind of like we do in the, Arctic regions with our seeds and what have you.
Seed vault.
Seed vaults, and the Sphinxes or the pyramids were storage units because they knew a great flood was coming, and they knew we were going to lose all of our, education. They knew we were going to lose all of our seeds, all of our, history, and they stuffed them into the pyramids as protection against a great flood, so that we didn't have to start over from scratch again. So we had something to go back to and relate to and start from that point forward. And maybe yeah.
Oh, I didn't mean. I'm sorry. I totally interrupted you. I just was trying to say. I think they did a better job at is that Göbekli Tepe. I always say it wrong, but
yeah,
like they totally preserved that so well.
They found another site as well. I think it's the sister site, which is even older than that one.
Yeah,
well. It's crazy.
Yeah. How about the sites here that they say they find Egypt stuff like in the Grand Canyon?
In the Grand Canyon.
Yeah,
that is crazy.
Absolutely.
How do they find that stuff here?
Wow.
There's just so much we don't know. There's like so much we don't know about all these ancient cultures and history, and like the timeline of how we actually got here is not even the timeline, So there's so much we need to learn about that.
Well, then you got historians and you got scientists that are embarrassed to say, "Yeah, we fucked up."
Yeah.
We don't.
Well,
we'd
rather just know the truth, but.
But the simple fact is, are you going to protect your job? You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's always politics. You figure once they wrote it, it's history, and to rewrite it, it's just.
I wasn't laughing at you, Michael. I apologize. I was laughing at the chat. Gordium was saying, "I need to bury my VHS collection to preserve it."
No, Gort, you don't need to. We're always going to have Pornhub. We don't need to be
man. There it is. Yeah,
here it goes.
I started it. Or Gort started it. I don't know who started it.
Oh, Ren's here. What's up, Ren?
I mean, I was gonna say, didn't they think too it was underwater? Classic UFO Garage, right? There was water at that time, and there was like some sort of like generator.
Far as over there in, you talking about in Egypt?
Yeah, ancient Egypt.
Oh man, there's all kinds of hypotheses. Some people talked about there used to be plated in, what was it, like the brass or something?
Limestone.
There was those canisters that they got. I can't remember the name of it. I feel stupid. But there was those canisters that were actually ancient batteries.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Anybody?
I don't know the name of the canister. I remember the piece that went on the top to harness it. That was all I remember.
No, they had what do they call them? Baghdad batteries?
Yeah, there you go.
Baghdad batteries.
That's
Baghdad batteries.
That's why I love Sonny.
Is that the technical term on that?
Yes, that's the technical term. That's what it's called. I wasn't making fun.
It's really called Baghdad battery. It really is.
I love it so much. But with that one, I'm sorry. Listen, I always say I'm not smart on this stuff, okay? But with
but you got a camel beard.
That's true. That is true. We know why. I can't say live on here why, but you know why. You know why it's that way. So
I'm not gonna say it's aliens.
The fact that the oldest pyramids were built the most precise, and then they progressively got worse. You know, that's so strange too, that we didn't. Normally when we build something, we build it and we get better and better.
Yeah.
And that's where I kind of what I was trying to allude to earlier, Mr. Crowley, as far as us having more skills than we realize. I truly, and this is William's old wild conspiracy, truly believe that there was a point where we did understand a lot more as a civilization, and some entity or some force of some sort did not appreciate that and did shut that down. And I Joe and Ben have talked about this even on here before, saying, what if there is a society that somehow got ahead a little bit? Talking about the other humans, a couple of families that got together, whatever, and got ahead by, say, 50 to 100 years. At a certain point, like you were saying, Mr. Crowley, technology would just appear as magic. What if there is a group of people that completely rewrote history as we know it all together? It only take about 3 generations and it's just gone. I mean, the fact that everything's giants are a joke. Do you guys, if I asked you right now, like, do you believe in giants? What do you think? First of all, let's throw it out. Do you believe in giants? Show of hands.
Yes, we just had Hugh
that was a
Newman.
great interview, by the way.
Hugh Newman, you need to check that out. He's such a cool guy. We interviewed him, and he's we talked about megalithic giants and some of the history of it, and it was really cool. We definitely want to talk to him again, though. But yeah definitely. There's a lot of evidence around it, which was a bit surprising, like how much there is and how I feel like it's never talked about.
Yeah, I know, but
or at least not given the attention it really deserves.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what bothers me is the Smithsonian has the receipts. They have the receipts to show that they had this stuff, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, bro, no deposit on this one." Like they just lost it. The Simpsons. Okay, we're getting out there.
The Simpsons honestly
made an episode on this. Them accidentally burning that boat down.
Part of the Galactic Federation, if there is one.
He's a time traveler, 100%.
I'm just saying, like that owner. I mean, the creator of that show. I swear to God, has like a very like accurate crystal ball.
Or the writer.
Yeah.
See, this is where I see that it's kind of like mythology. I see as a lie. Or truth. It's every lie is based in some sort of truth.
Yeah.
Yep.
And mythology is the same. You know, it may not have evolved the way that it's kind of like the cafeteria thing to where I tell you something, you tell somebody else something, and they tell somebody else something, and it turns into a different thing. But it was based in some kind of truth.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, and that's how I feel about mythology. It was based in some kind of truth. Ezekiel's wheel could have been a UFO.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Bible gives exact talking about Michael. You talked about.
I did.
Sorry, it's all there in the early books for Genesis and then Exodus.
Yeah, to the point where they give exact building dimensions of the craft. You know, so it's like even if you just look at the Bible as a historical piece of evidence, whether it's not religious to you or whatever it might be, it's at least a unique, although heavily altered. I mean, come on, 160 books to start with, 166.
Basically, the best way I could remember it as a kid is it was like the angels came down, they mixed with humans and had like the X-Men. There was all these people on Earth with different powers. And then God thought that was too crazy. That's not what he wanted Earth to be. So he ended it with the flood and Noah's Ark. And
because he mistimed the meteor and killed the dinosaurs.
And that's
what's the meme? There's a meme about that.
Basically, it's like they would say the gap was UFOs. The theory is there's always the Ark could be a UFO, time, things like that. Personally, I believe it all lines up, and it's all why the Earth is why it is now. God, and maybe a lot of them creatures I believe survived, actually, especially like the jinn.
Yes,
different creatures they talk about.
Yeah.
To this day, I mean, David versus Goliath was a giant, so that's like we kind of know it. I always feel like we know it, but for some reason we just don't want to.
Well, and it's not even a far stretch far as like the evidence that like that interview that you did there, Josh, with you and Artemis with Hugh Newman, and I think Akashi Chris obviously was on there with you too, but
Akashi Chris as well, yeah.
The finding the on average 7 to 8 foot human being here in North America in particular was the most prominent that was across the board.
Yeah.
Which granted at the time was much above average. I think the average male at the time was 5'2" or 5'4". They were saying something like that.
Yeah.
But the point being, it's nowadays that's not a stretch. I mean, look at the NBA. Come on, we look at all just children being born anymore. Everybody has, and there's a whole lot of reasons to that. But the point being, some people act like it's such a crazy number we're putting out there. That's really not that crazy. It's when you start getting to 12 plus feet that you're like,
right.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember the biggest giant what he's found evidence for. I think he said it was like 20 foot or something.
21 feet there.
Yeah, 21 foot. Yeah.
Well, here's where my
Got it.
background comes in: realisticness and law enforcement and everything else is kind of sniffing out bullshit. Okay, why would you make this fucking lie?
Yeah.
Why would you make this up? For what purpose does it serve? It doesn't serve as most of these ghost stories and mythologies or to teach your kids to stay away from rivers, to teach your kids to stay away from dangerous things, or what have you. Okay. What purpose does it have to have this mythology about these giants? What purpose does it serve? To tell you to stay away from tall people? What purpose does it serve? It makes no fucking purpose whatsoever.
Don't trust parents.
There you go. So what purpose does it serve? What are they telling you to stay away from? What kind of ideology does this have? What is it teaching you? Like La Llorona telling you to stay away from the rivers, and what have you. What purpose does saying giants existed and we had to fight them serve?
Honestly, I believe if you read the Bible, it's a lot of the same good versus evil, do the right thing. It's always like taken out of context, but there's a story behind it. And in that time, they were being evil. They were probably eating people, and actually God created us to be the kings of the earth. So maybe they were overpowering the humans. And there's just a lot of reasons on why it actually may have really happened.
So basically you're saying there was probably giants at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I take it at a literal, like maybe we were alive with the dinosaurs. They've even maybe proven that we were cavemen are a real thing.
Have you guys seen that documentary about dinosaurs? I think it was from like the 70s. It could be. I think it's on YouTube, but there's like a documentary which is in like the Amazon, and they find a dinosaur apparently. Like you need to check that out.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. It's like the old black and white footage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about, but I thought that was like a
I'm not sure if it's fake or not, but like it's interesting. You see it if you haven't seen it yet, but yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I just think it's hard to. I do get why people get so worried when they start coming. They come across a panel like this and they're like, "Whoa, pump the brakes!" Right? First half, well, okay, we'll talk about a few things, but now we're talking dinosaurs and giants.
Going deep in the second
half. We're going deep. But I freaking love, exploring the options. Who was it that said? I don't remember who it was. was it Plato? Someone had said the idea, like the sign of intelligence being the idea that you can go and really have the conversation with somebody else or in your mind, but not agree with it. I can't remember. I feel like I'm saying that wrong. Who's the other famous one that would paint and he couldn't finish anything? Leonardo da Vinci. Maybe it was Leonardo.
Well, you don't have to. You don't have to agree. You have to accept the possibility.
Yeah,
that's kind of where it's at. You know,
and honestly,
like I said, every lie that you've ever told in your life is based on some kind of, realistic situation that happened. You build upon it, you've altered it or what have you.
Yeah.
So you have to look back to human history. Every story that's been told, sorry, that's Cassie texting me, but every story that you've been told is based in some kind of solid, situation. That's just the way I feel.
True.
Yeah, and I mean, go back to, I was going to say, I think it's a lost art of to be on the opposite side of things and yet still listen to the other person,
Very true.
If you can't debate the opponent's side of the argument, you have no point being in the argument.
Yeah,
exactly.
I hear you. You guys.
And if you don't have the education or intelligence to debate, then just let it go. I don't do it.
Let the grown-ups talk.
That's true. Oh, Enzo, you're right. He couldn't finish anything. It's one of the reasons why I love him. I've always asked people this, and I know we only have 3 minutes at the end of the show here, but one of my favorite questions to ask people, like a stranger, and when I first meet them, is I'll just ask them what their middle name is right off the bat, because it's such a weird thing to ask somebody, and I feel like they always remember me. Like, if I meet somebody years later, they're like, you're that guy who asked me what my middle name. I don't know why, but it sticks with them. And then the second favorite question in the world, and I'll leave you guys with this. You can come back with this answer one day. If you could have 3 people over for dinner, hang out the whole day, we'll make it a whole day you can hang out with them, past or present, language is no barrier. Who are your 3 people? And most importantly, why those 3 people?
Do they have to be alive now, or can be any?
No, anybody.
Oh, okay.
Throughout all
they
of
wouldn't
humanity.
taste as good if they're not still alive.
Yeah, that's
a good question.
Yeah.
Big Willy.
But it's a fun one. It makes people think about it a little bit. And
go around the table.
Do you guys know? Well, we only have 2 minutes. We don't want to rush them, Crowley. But if you already know, please share. Who do you think you'd want? And then most importantly, why that person? And you in the chat, too, if you guys know.
Yeah.
Such a tough question, they say.
Yeah. Oh, and my middle name is Artemis, so.
We're unveiling the mysteries. The mysteries have been
my
revealed.
first name's Anastasia.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's wow. You have quite the name.
It's a mouthful.
She's got 2 really cool names.
Can I do 3? Can I do 3?
3 people? Yeah, that's the. Yep, you're supposed to pick 3.
Well, okay. Buddha and Ben and Joe.
Ooh.
Nice.
Is the reasoning why?
Because Buddha saw life introspectively and completely, and Ben and Joe look outside the box and try to see life from a different perspective. So there you go. Put those 2 together, you got the whole answer.
True. Very true. I like that.
Oh, I got mine.
Plus, they fucking make me laugh. So.
That's true. They do make us all laugh. All right, Michael, go for it. What is yours?
Okay, I would say Jesus, just because it seems very extra. It's like
wait, 1 second. I forgot. You can totally roll with Jesus. I'm not taking Jesus away, but I forgot there was one caveat I usually put in there is eliminate whatever deity you believe in and pass on family members because we tend to fill our table up with them. Now, you can totally roll with Jesus at your table. I'm not saying you can't. You bring Jesus
I'll go
to the table.
Boris Johnson. Yeah. Vince McMahon and
Boris
the head
Johnson.
of Sony Music Records. Because I'm on
Vince
side
McMahon. Interesting.
Yeah.
Why Vince McMahon?
Table.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm a huge WWE fan, and as far as a role model, Vince McMahon showed me a lot. Like, get the championship. Like Triple H, tag teams. There's stables, groups, Eddie Guerrero, your favorites, The Undertaker, everyone's afraid of. And so Vince McMahon has like a whole lot, and he's buff. He wrestles with all them guys.
Do you remember I don't know much about wrestling at all, but the funniest scene I ever seen was who was wrestling? I think it was, was it The Rock and his dad or somebody? Anyways, Vince McMahon comes running out because they're not sure. Oh, it was two other guys were wrestling and they misperformed the move. So the other guy lost. He was supposed to win. And Vince McMahon was coming running out, supposed to I'm going to give the belt to the other guy. And he jumped into the ring and he broke or snapped both of his hamstrings. Do you remember that?
Oh my god.
Jumping into the ring. He slid in.
I kind of remember that. I remember.
And nobody knew what he was doing. Because he just sat on the floor looking at everybody, and they didn't know the guy was in so much pain. He had snapped. I'm pretty sure it was both his hamstrings simultaneously. I'm like, how does that happen?
Oh my god!
This makes me sound like I'm really like a WWE fan, but I just know that one thing about
Big Willy.
He's like, I don't know much, but I know much.
He definitely knows his shit.
I don't know anything about wrestling. I promise. Well, anyways, guys, we will continue. Obviously. Probably off air for anybody. I'll drop the link one more time. Usually anybody who wants to jump in is more than welcome to. I'm also going to drop the links again to Josh and Artemis's shows and the different links you can follow them on. Thank you so very much for coming on, being our guest here this fine evening.
We had a
Thank
great
you for
time.
those.
Thank you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thanks.
Blessed and appreciative to meet you guys.
Very true.
Of course, same here, everybody.
Same to all you guys.
Thank you so much.
And I'm sure we'll probably see you all on like a panel soon as well. So we'll probably see you all again soon.
Very
I was
true.
gonna follow your page, obviously, when I seen as a guest, but that's cool.
Yeah, do it. I mean, we've got a show tomorrow night, and we open up the stream for that one. So if you guys want to come and talk to us there tomorrow night, then you're more than welcome too. So
that'll be great.
What time? What time?
I gotta get
8 p.m. Eastern.
So it'll be like
I don't know what time.
It'll be like 9 p.m. is when we open up the stream.
I'm Eastern, so
usually around 9 is like an hour into the show.
Yeah.
Very nice. By the way, just as a shout out for Ren, since she did name two of hers at least, Bob Lazar, because duh, and that one guy that lived under a rock out in Joshua Tree. I don't know the third. I don't know if I know the guy who lived under the Joshua Tree rock. Does anybody know that off the top of their head?
I'm trying to remember, yeah. I'm not sure.
No, I don't know.
Hey, but you know what? You bring that guy that lived under the tree,
yeah.
Okay? You bring him to the table. That's fair. All right, guys, as I always say when ending the show, please stay curious and keep it weird.
Bye.
you